With National Signing Day out the window and spring practice coming up in the next few months, it's time I gave out my top 10 list for the best quarterbacks in the SEC. Now, guys that I do have outside the top 10, I have two. I have Brock Vandagriff simply because I don't know who his next offensive coordinator is going to be, but yet he will still be an electric pro-style quarterback, a guy that can get rid of the football, knows how to elude defenders. He's excellent pocket awareness. He has a high football IQ, and he knows how to throw on the run. I also have Taylon Green as well. He's a guy that was from Boise State, Mountain West Player of the Year in 2022. He's in a new conference, though. Got to go up against the SEC big boys. How will he perform as a dual-threat quarterback with Bobby Petrino as your new offensive coordinator? And how will this affect Sam Hartman with his opportunity, with his job on the line? So now it's time to get into the top 10. At number 10, it's a surprise. It's Diego Paveo. Now, many people are going to tell me, why are you picking him? He's from Vanderbilt. He doesn't have the same weapons around him. Yes, I know. I know he lost London Humphreys to Georgia, and he lost Will Shepherd to Colorado. This is still an electric dual-threat quarterback. You're going to have your offensive coordinator, Tim Beck, who was New Mexico State's offensive coordinator the last 2 years. He was part of that program that won back-to-back bowl games for the first time since 1960. They won 10 games for the first time since 60, and they went to the conference title in the CUSA. Paveo was also CUSA Offensive Player of the Year, and he was a second-team All-CUSA. This is a guy that is just so electric. 2,900 yards, 26 touchdowns to just 9 interceptions. Also ran for over 900 yards, almost 1,000, was about 20-plus yards short of that. But he is going to be electrifying, especially when he gets to Nashville. This is a guy that I can see really having his game elevated. He's a guy that I love watching. I think he's going to be very entertaining. He's a guy that Vanderbilt needs to look out for. If Vanderbilt can get to 5 wins this year, I think Clark Lea's job is saved for now. But how will they take that next step forward? If they can get to a bowl game, that would be even greater for this team. Because you're talking about Vanderbilt, the bottom feeder of the SEC. And this is not an easy schedule at all if you're talking about the Vanderbilt Commodores. This is a team that, obviously, they started 2-0 last year, lost their last 10 games of the season, lost to Wake Forest, UNLV, and then got dominated in SEC play, although they had at least 2 or 3 games that could have gone their way. And when you enter 2024, you play Virginia Tech, who returns 20 starters. You play Alcorn State. You're at Georgia State, at Missouri. If you can get to 2-2 at the end of September, I will be happy with that. That at least gets you an opportunity to look towards SEC play, look at who you play, see who you can beat. I think they have an opportunity to get to 5 wins. I see them beating Alcorn State and Georgia State. I see them beating Ball State, obviously. I don't see them going on the road to Kentucky and beating them. I see Bama and Texas having their way with them. At Auburn, who has been highly suspect throughout this recruiting cycle and especially last year, I think they might pull out a victory there. And then South Carolina at home, it's going to be an even game. But if you look at that, that's 5 or 6 wins that you're looking at for a Vanderbilt team that really has not shown much whatsoever throughout the last 3 years of the Clark Lee era. Number 9, I have Garrett Nussmeier of LSU. Taking over for a Heisman-winning quarterback is going to be very, very difficult. Miles Brennan did it in 2020. He did well throughout the first 4 or 5 games of the season before he got hurt. And I talked with Blake Ruffino of Are You Serious Sports about this, I believe, last week. And I asked him, is this similar to 2020? No, he has said absolutely not, because he has an efficient offensive line. He has weapons around him. He has guys like C.J. Daniels, who is going to be the most electric receiver in the SEC in 2024. And I think that he can have a lot to look forward to, especially when you look at The offensive line he's surrounded by, the outside, the X and Y that you're looking at, especially at the receiving core. The only problem is you got to look at your running backs. Now, guys like Caleb Jackson, I think that they can make efficient starts for this LSU team, but they still need to get that running back room situated. Other than that, I think this is a guy that can really take a next step forward in 2024. Number 8, I have Connor Weigman. Weigman was hurt last year, but he was on a pace to be an all-SEC selection. Had almost 1,000 yards throughout the first 4 games, 8 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. They were 3-1 up to that point. After he gets hurt, Max Johnson comes in, they struggle. Then he gets benched. Jalen Henderson comes in, they struggle. That shows you that Weigman is the guy. He has a new staff. Mike Elko has a lot to prove, especially in year 1 in Texas A&M, the best place that money can buy. Now, they lost a lot of big-time recruits this past recruiting cycle to other top-tier SEC schools. They lost 4. But when you have guys that are capable of getting open, you have guys that are extremely versatile on the outside edge, and especially at running back, you're in a good position, especially when you have guys like Connor Weigman as your quarterback. He's a dark horse first-team All-SEC for me. Number 7, I have Nico Iamaleava. Had a pretty decent start against the top-tier defense in Iowa. But will the legend continue in 2024? Josh Heupel has elevated quarterbacks like no other. He helped Hendon Hooker in 2022. Joe Milton didn't do bad at all in 2023, regardless of what Tennessee Volunteer fans believe. He actually wasn't a bad quarterback. He just didn't have the same type of talent that Hooker had with Jalen Hyatt and Brew McCoy whenever he's healthy. Brew McCoy is healthy this year. And so you're adding that to the point of this is a guy that I think can take that next step forward. I think Tennessee is going to be a dark horse New Year's 6 contender in 2024. And I can see them potentially even competing with Georgia for the SEC East. We'll just have to see when we get to there. Number 6, I have Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz led the SEC in completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But top 3 player in the nation in DJ Lagway coming to Gainesville. How will he respond? He has been under pressure most of his career. And I accept the fact that I respect what he did. Didn't transfer whenever Lagway came in. I respect the heck out of that, especially when you have a guy that has an opportunity to be the next. I think he was compared to Tim Tebow, I believe, as well, from what I heard about DJ Lagway. He had a little bit of Cam Newton as well. So I love the fact that he's going to stay. He's going to compete for the job, and I think he's going to win that job as well. He wants to be in Gainesville, and this, too, make or break for Billy Napier and company. Because if they have a season like they had last year when all the pieces just fell apart, you're going to see them really stumble. You're going to see this team fall apart. The locker room was absolutely toxic in 2023. But how does Graham Mertz take that next step and be a much better leader than he was in 2024? Number 5, I have Jackson Dart. Dangerous weapons are all around him. Ole Miss, to me, is a dark horse contender for the college football playoff. I think they will make the college football playoff as well. Because there's no denying all the weapons that are just surrounded by Dart. You get Trey Harris, who's the most electric receiver, coming back for another year. You have a guy like that who is going to be your number 1 receiver. He's going to be your leader on and off the field. And you're talking about one of the best defenses in college football next year, led by Walter Nolan. Ole Miss is a dark horse contender for the college football playoff, and don't be surprised if they do make it. But back to Jackson Dart. I think this guy who decided to come back for another year, here's a goal in mind. He wants a college football playoff. He's going to be the next J.J. McCarthy, except this time he's going to be a much more efficient passer. He's going to elevate his game even more. and he's going to be the reason that Ole Miss is in the college football playoff. Number 3, I got Brady Cook. Now, there's a question I have for Brady Cook especially. Will he perform the same way he did after the Kansas State game? Because he had a remarkable season. Everybody wanted to bench him before K-State. He said, he's not the guy. He's not this. He's not that. Well, he proved his doubters wrong and threw for over 3,000 yards to go along with 21 touchdowns. And you got the number 1 receiver in the SEC in Luther Burden coming back. And you got a great back like Marcus Carroll from Georgia State coming in, who's going to make an immediate impact. He's a guy that I think is going to be kind of like an Alvin Kamara of sorts. I think what Eli Drinkwitz brings to the table is what you're going to see from Marcus Carroll as an Alvin Kamara type of back. So Brady Cook is going to take the next step forward, and I think he arguably could be a Heisman favorite going into 2024. Now for the top 2. Georgia-Bama fans might be pissed at this one. Number 2, I got Jalen Milroe. I don't know what's going to happen with Kalen DeBoer. Will he let Jalen be Jalen like he was after the South Florida game? Or is he going to make him more like a pure pocket passer like he did with Michael Penix? Now, Milroe is efficient in the pocket. He is very smart. He has a high football IQ. That's why he's the starter in the first place. If he didn't, he wouldn't be a Heisman contender going into 2024. He wouldn't be the starter in 2024. You wouldn't see Tyler Buckner go ahead and take his spot in 2024. You wouldn't see Ty Simpson competing for the starting job. So Jalen Milroe is the guy. Don't get it twisted. But I think that Milroe is going to take that next step forward in 2024. I think with Ryan Grubb coming in as your offensive coordinator for sure, he assured it in his press conference. I don't know if he's going to pull a Saban or not and say he's going to stay at his respective school and then go somewhere else. I don't know. But I do believe with those 2 pieces coming here to Tuscaloosa, you're going to see a much more polished passer and much more efficient runner and a guy that's going to grow. He already has a high football IQ. That football IQ is going to be almost over the roof. And number 1, I have Carson Beck. Carson Beck took the keys from Stetson Bennett and was even better. The only problem is he didn't get the job done at the end against Bama. Now with Saban gone, this is their opportunity to be the new kings of college football. If they can win another national championship this year, they have established themselves as a dynasty in the making. And it all starts with quarterback play. It's going to start with Carson Beck, and it's going to end with Carson Beck. By the way, your 2024 Heisman winner is going to be Carson Beck at the end of the day. I think he's going to be a polished passer. I think what Kirby Smart has in store for him is going to be so much fun. We're going to have a lot of fun watching him. Trevor Etienne is going to be fun back to watch. And you're going to see one of the best quarterback-running back duos in all of the SEC with Carson Beck and Trevor Etienne in the backfield.